Hello, I'm Lily. I'm 24 years old, living in New York with my family. My life is, well, complicated. My dad passed away when I was young, and since then, it's just been me, my mom, and my little brother, Jack. My mom, Anna, is a strong woman but always looks so sad. She runs a small cafe to keep us going, but she worries all the time, especially about money. Sometimes I wish I could make everything better for her. Let me tell you how it all started. One day I was walking down the street, listening to music and thinking about the same old worries. Suddenly, I saw a new family moving into the house across from ours. Boxes, suitcases, and people everywhere. Just then, someone walked out of their house, a tall, cheerful guy with the biggest smile. He had a funny way of walking, and I couldn't help but laugh. And guess what? He caught me laughing. He gave me a funny look and waved. "Hey there," he said, waving his hand. I tried to look away, embarrassed, but he walked right over. "Hi, I'm Leo," he said, smiling. "We're your new neighbors. My mom calls me the sunshine of the family. But you can just call me Leo," I giggled. "Hi, Leo. I'm Lily. Welcome to the neighborhood." Leo's smile was so bright, like he was carrying the sun with him, and he talked a lot. "So, tell me, what's fun around here? Where do people go to chill?" I laughed again. "Well, this is a pretty quiet neighborhood. Not much to do here except visit my mom's cafe." "A cafe? That sounds perfect. I love coffee. I'll be there tomorrow morning," he said with excitement, like he had just discovered a hidden treasure. And sure enough, the next morning, Leo showed up. He walked into the cafe like he owned the place, chatting with everyone and even helping an old lady with her coffee. My mom watched him with a warm smile, the first smile I had seen on her face in days. Leo became a part of our days, like he had always been there. He'd tell us silly jokes, sing funny songs, and make everyone laugh. He was a little goofy, but in the best way. Sometimes he would act like a famous actor, pretending to be all serious and dramatic, but then he'd burst into laughter. One day, Leo looked around the cafe, looked right at my mom, and said, "Anna, you know what this place needs? Some color, some sparkle." My mom laughed and shook her head, but I could tell she liked the idea. Leo began helping out at the cafe, adding his own special touch. He'd decorate each table with small flowers, add little lights around the counter, and even started a joke of the day board where he'd write funny lines. People loved it. They came in just to see what he'd written that day. Then, something surprising happened. My mom started humming while she worked, something I hadn't seen her do since my dad passed away. She seemed happier, more alive. But Leo wasn't just about fun and jokes. He was also there when things got tough. One evening, when the cafe was empty, my mom sat down, looking tired and defeated. Leo noticed and sat beside her, putting a hand on her shoulder. "You know, Anna," he said softly, "life isn't always easy. But sometimes a little light, a little laughter can make all the difference." My mom looked at him with tears in her eyes, and he held her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. That was Leo. He made us laugh, but he also reminded us that we were never alone. Over time, Leo and I became close friends. We'd go on long walks, talking about everything, our dreams, our fears, and our families. He told me about his own struggles, about how he used to feel lost, but decided to change his life by spreading happiness wherever he went. One day, while sitting by the lake, he looked at me with that big, goofy smile and said, "Lily, life is short. We don't know what tomorrow brings, so let's make the most of today." Life in New York had taken a happy turn with Leo around. He didn't just bring sunshine into the cafe, he brought it into our lives. Every day, he'd come up with something new to keep us laughing. Once, he even came into the cafe wearing a superhero cape made from an old curtain, calling himself Captain Happiness. He ran around, acting like he was saving people from seriousness, making everyone in the cafe laugh till their stomachs hurt. But Leo wasn't just a clown. He had a way of making everyone feel special. For instance, he noticed Mrs. Davis, an elderly woman who came to the cafe every afternoon. She always sat alone, looking a little sad. Leo started sitting with her, listening to her stories about her late husband and their travels. Slowly, Mrs. Davis's frown turned into a smile every time she saw him. One evening, Leo invited me to walk with him by the river. As we strolled along, he looked up at the stars and said, "Lily, do you ever wonder why people forget to be happy? I mean, look around. The world is full of things to laugh about, but we get so busy that we forget." I sighed. I guess life gets complicated. There are bills to pay, responsibilities, things to worry about. He looked at me, smiling gently. But happiness is free, It's in the little things, like seeing someone smile because of something you did. As he said this, I realized Leo wasn't just talking about life. He was teaching me something that would stay with me forever. I felt lighter, like he had taken a weight off my heart. But Leo had a mystery to him too. He'd always smile when anyone asked about his past, never saying much. One night, I finally worked up the courage to ask him, "Leo, what brought you to New York? Why did you move here?" He looked at me, his smile a little sad. That's a story for another day, Lily. For now, let's just focus on making today special." Days turned into weeks, and Leo became a part of our family. One morning, I walked into the cafe to find it covered in balloons and streamers. I looked around, surprised, and there was Leo, holding a giant cake with "Happy Birthday, Lily," written in bright colors. He had somehow figured out my birthday, and there he was, throwing me a surprise party. The cafe was filled with friends, neighbors, and even regular customers. My mom had tears in her eyes as she hugged me. "Leo put this together, honey. He wanted to make sure you had the best birthday." As everyone sang, I couldn't help but feel so grateful. Leo had given me something precious, a memory that would stay with me forever. And right at that moment, I realized that I felt something more than friendship for Leo. My heart raced every time I saw him, and I was happier with him around. he feel the same? A week later, Leo brought another surprise. He announced a talent show night at the cafe, open to anyone in the neighborhood. I thought he was joking, but he was serious. People actually showed up. Kids did magic tricks. Some old friends sang karaoke, and there was even a man who juggled apples. Leo performed a ridiculous dance routine, pretending to be a famous dancer, and everyone cheered him on. Then, out of nowhere, he looked at me and said, "All right, Lily, your turn." I froze. Me? No way. I can't perform. But everyone was cheering, so I reluctantly got up and decided to sing a song. It was a soft, sweet tune my dad used to sing to me when I was a kid. As I sang, I noticed Leo watching me with a look of admiration in his eyes. When I finished, he clapped the loudest. Afterward, Leo came up to me, his eyes twinkling. "Lily, you've got a beautiful voice. You should sing more often." I blushed, not knowing what to say. I wanted to tell him how much he meant to me, how he made everything better. But I held back. Life was going great until one afternoon. I came home to find Leo sitting alone by the river, looking unusually serious. I sat beside him, sensing something was wrong. "Leo, is everything okay?" I asked gently. He took a deep breath, looking down at his hands. "Lily, there's something I haven't told you. I didn't come here just for fun. I came to New York for a reason." He paused, and his usual smile faded. Curiosity filled me, but I waited quietly, sensing he needed time to open up. Finally, he continued, "Back home, I was engaged to someone. Her name was Emma. We were young, in love, and then one day, she was gone. An accident. After that, I felt like I had lost my reason to live. So, I decided to move here, to start over and bring happiness wherever I went. I realized life is too short to waste on sorrow." Tears filled my eyes as I listened. I placed my hand on his, trying to comfort him. "Leo, I had no idea, but I'm glad you came here. You've brought so much joy into my life, into everyone's lives." He looked at me, smiling softly. "Thanks, Lily. Meeting you, it's given me hope again." At that moment, I felt my heart racing. I wanted to tell him everything about how much he meant to me. But before I could say anything, he stood up, his usual smile back. "All right, enough of the sad stuff. Let's go get some ice cream." As we walked, I felt something change between us, a bond that was unspoken, yet strong. Leo had taught me so much already about laughter, hope, and the importance of living fully in each moment. And now, I had a feeling that maybe, just maybe, we were meant to be a part of each other's lives. A few days after our talk by the river, things took an unexpected turn. Leo received a letter, which he opened in front of me. As he read it, his face went from cheerful to, well, the closest I'd ever seen to confused shock. "What's wrong, Leo?" I asked, half worried, half curious. He looked at me, blinking like he'd just seen a ghost. "Lily, you won't believe this. I've been invited to speak at a huge happiness summit in Los Angeles. They want me to share my wisdom on bringing joy to people's lives." He laughed, looking a bit embarrassed. "I mean, I was just being my usual silly self. Who would want advice from me?" I burst out laughing. "Leo, are you kidding? You're practically Captain Happiness. You turned our dull cafe into a place people want to visit every day." He sighed, rubbing his head. "Yeah, but speaking at a conference? That's serious. They'll expect me to know, well, important stuff. I'm not exactly a professor." I shook my head. "Leo, the most important thing you've taught us is to find happiness in small moments. That's something no professor can teach." After a pause, Leo finally broke into a grin. "All right, you're right. I'll do it, but only if you help me prepare. I need practice being all wise and inspiring." "Think you're up for it, Coach Lily?" "Coach Lily, reporting for duty," I said, giving him a playful salute. The next day, we turned the cafe into Happiness Boot Camp. Leo stood in front of a small group of friends and regular customers, practicing his speech. He started with a big, dramatic voice. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will tell you the secrets of happiness." But as he went on, it became clear that Leo had absolutely no idea what he was saying. He started spouting random advice like, "And remember, always eat your vegetables and never wear socks with sandals." The whole cafe burst into laughter. I couldn't stop laughing either. His advice sounded like something from a 5-year-old's journal. Between giggles, I managed to say, "Leo, maybe stick to things you actually do, not the stuff you read in cereal boxes." After a lot of practice and laughter, Leo finally found his rhythm. He decided to share stories instead of lectures. He told funny stories about helping Mrs. Davis at the cafe, his superhero cape days, and the time he got stuck in a revolving door for 20 minutes because he didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings by pushing too fast. Finally, the big day arrived. Leo had to leave for Los Angeles, and even though I was happy for him, part of me felt, well, empty. Leo had become more than a friend to me. He was my sunshine. It felt like he was taking a piece of my heart with him. Before he left, he came up to me with his usual grin. "Lily, don't worry, okay? I'll be back in no time. And when I come back, I want to see you smiling, just like always." I tried to smile, but he noticed my hesitation. He patted my shoulder and said, "Remember, Coach Lily, life's too short to be sad. You taught me that." I watched as he left, feeling a strange mix of pride and sadness. Days passed, and the cafe felt quieter without Leo. Mom noticed it too. She'd often pause and say, "It feels empty here, doesn't it?" I nodded, feeling that emptiness too. One afternoon, while I was tidying up, I found a small note Leo had left on the counter. In his messy handwriting, it said, "Lily, don't forget to look for joy, even when I'm not around. You're stronger than you know, and your smile brings light to everyone. Leo." Reading that made me smile and brought a little tear to my eye. I missed him terribly, but I knew he was right. Life was too short to be anything but happy. Inspired by his words, I started running the cafe the way Leo would have. I put up a new joke of the day board, decorated each table with fresh flowers, and even added a few silly hats for customers to try on. The customers loved it. Soon people were laughing, taking pictures, and calling the cafe the happiest spot in town. Mrs. Davis brought in a small radio to play cheerful music, and my mom started dancing while serving coffee. The cafe felt alive again. A week later, Leo called from Los Angeles. He sounded excited. "Lily, you won't believe it. The speech went so well, people were actually taking notes." I laughed. "Of course they were. You're Captain Happiness." He laughed too, then paused. "Lily, there's something else. They offered me a job here. They want me to travel and speak at different places, spreading happiness all over the country." My heart sank, but I tried to sound happy. "Leo, that's amazing. You deserve it. I'm so proud of you." There was silence on the other end, and then he spoke softly. "But I'd miss you, Lily. New York, it's special because you're there. This job, it's great. But is it really worth it if I lose my happiness?" I didn't know what to say. Here he was, living his dream, but it meant he'd have to leave everything and everyone behind. I took a deep breath and tried to be brave. "Leo, I think you should do it. Life is about grabbing opportunities, right? And wherever you go, you'll always have us cheering for you." Leo returned to New York, but he wasn't the same. There was a calmness in his eyes, like he'd come to a decision. One evening, he pulled me aside. "Lily, I thought about what you said, about grabbing opportunities, but I realized something important. Happiness isn't a place or a job. It's in the people who make life special." I stared at him, speechless, my heart racing. "Are you saying?" He smiled, taking my hand. "Yes, Lily. I'm staying because happiness is right here, with you, with your mom, with this cafe." Tears filled my eyes as he pulled me into a hug. In that moment, I felt like I'd found something I'd been searching for all my life. Leo was my happiness, my laughter, my home. After Leo decided to stay, life at the cafe became even more joyful. We worked together every day, laughing, teasing, and sharing little moments that felt like our own secret language. He'd joke about making me his assistant to the captain of happiness, while I'd tell him that, actually, he was my happiness intern. But deep down, I knew Leo was more than just a friend. He was the reason I looked forward to every day. I didn't know how to say it, and part of me was afraid that saying it out loud might change everything. One morning, just as the cafe opened, Leo didn't show up. I called his phone, but it went straight to voicemail. The hours passed, and worry started to gnaw at me. Finally, I went to his apartment, only to find it locked. The next day, I got a message from him. "Don't worry, Lily, I'm fine. Just need some time to figure things out." I didn't understand. Had I done something wrong? The cafe felt hollow without his laughter, and I found myself missing even his silly dance moves. Days turned into weeks, and I wondered if he was ever coming back. I thought of our memories, the warmth he brought into my life, and it felt like a chapter was closing too soon. One afternoon, a friend dropped by with a letter for me from Leo. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Lily, I'm sorry for disappearing without saying goodbye. There are things I never told you. My heart has been carrying a weight, something I didn't want to share because I thought it might bring you sadness. You see, I'm not as strong as you think. My health hasn't been great for a while. It's why I always try to bring as much happiness as I can to others. It's my way of feeling alive. But please don't be sad. You've brought more joy into my life than I ever thought possible. Lily, you taught me what it truly means to love someone. Every day with you felt like a gift, a treasure. And though I may not be with you forever, remember, I'll always be in your heart. Be brave. Keep spreading happiness, and know that I'll always be by your side, cheering you on. With all my love, Leo. Tears blurred my vision as I read his words. I couldn't believe it. Leo, my Leo, had been going through all of this alone. I felt my heart shatter. But then I remembered his words. He wanted me to be happy, even now. I promised myself I would do just that, even if it was the hardest thing I'd ever do. The next day, I reopened the cafe, filling it with everything that reminded me of Leo. Every corner held a piece of him, the joke of the day board, the silly hats, the radio playing his favorite songs. Customers noticed the changes, and soon people started calling it Leo's Cafe as a tribute to the man who had brought light into all our lives. Months passed, and one evening, as I was closing up, I found another letter hidden under the counter. It was from Leo's lawyer. He'd left everything he had to me, the cafe, his savings, and a small note. Use this to keep the happiness flowing, Lily. With that, I knew what I had to do. I transformed the cafe into a place where people came not just for coffee, but for connection. We began hosting community events, comedy nights, and story sharing sessions. People came together, laughed together, cried together, and left a little happier than when they arrived. And every day, I felt Leo's presence in the laughter of our customers, in the warmth of the sunlight streaming through the windows, in the joy that filled the room. He was gone, but his spirit lived on in every smile, every shared joke, every happy moment. Years later, I realized that Leo's greatest gift wasn't just the cafe. It was the courage to love and to live fully, even when life was uncertain. He had taught me that every day was precious, that happiness was a choice, and that love, even when it's lost, leaves a lasting light. And so, whenever someone new steps into Leo's cafe, I tell them our story. The story of a man who turned a simple cafe into the happiest place in town, and how he taught us all to live as if each moment was our last. As for me, I still miss him. But every time I hear laughter, I smile, knowing Leo's love and laughter are alive in every heart he touched. The end.